welcome to Second Pour. My name's Jeff.
And I am Zane.
Zane. So today we're going to have another Japanese whiskey.
Yeah, this is Kaiyo, if we're saying it right.
Now we have already had some of Kaiyo.
Yeah, we have had it.
And we are going to have it a
second time.
Now, before we have Kaiyo, I think you actually have more info on this than I do this time.
Well, Kaiyo is interesting in that they decided that how they were going to make this was to accentuate the flavorings of this particular, whiskey. And as we all know, I mean, with other bourbons, scotches, and all that, your barrel is part of it.
Which, a big part of it.
Again, they're using the
Mizunara, right?
Yes.
Mizunara.
And they wanted to make sure that the whiskey, which we want to call actually scotch, the whiskey itself interacted within the barrel as much as possible. So how did they do this? So they put these barrels of whiskey in containers. I'm talking shipping containers. Okay. Loaded on a modern barge. Okay. And then they take it out on the ocean around Japan itself for up to 3 months. And in that 3 months, it's doing this. It is shaking. it is going through different kinds of atmospheric pressures. As we know, storms come and go on the sea. And so because of that, it is literally going in and out of the barrel, like sucking into the wood and coming back out. Back out. It's at least shaking for that time. So they are agitating. What we're saying then is they are literally agitating the crap out of this whiskey. Yeah, and the oak, again, it's the what kind of oak? Mizunara. Mizunara oak. It's known for having basically the scientific flavorings that give us the vanilla flavoring. Oh yeah. So yeah, Mizunara oak. They usually tend to use new oak from Mizunara instead of like our oak over here, because it's actually, like we talked about here recently. A lot of scotches are using Mizunara oak now, and a lot of bourbons even here. So like even Broken Barrel we tried here a while back, which you can click the link right here and check that review out. They use Mizunara staves, right? Because what they're doing is that because of how much vanilla ends up that flavor, right? I mean, there's not vanilla in the tree. No. But what makes vanilla taste like vanilla is in that tree. It seems to be, right? So what they have to do is they have to take that complexity and actually figure out how to subset it so that it's not just like this vanilla, literally vanilla flavoring. And again, part of that is taking into account its travel on the sea and other parts of the distillate itself. So some quick notes on it. It is a 43% alcohol, 86 proof, which seems to be a standard for Japanese whiskey as we found so far. Yeah. But like I said, with the Mizunara oak, it does have those flavors of vanilla and even some cherry. Yeah, if you push pretty hard, I mean, it does say that the notes will be that. I definitely think it's sweet. I say we pour it up, let's taste it, and we jump from there. Ooh, it's beautiful. I'll take a little smidgen more there. Thank you, sir. And you had some already in there. I did, and drunkard and all that. So you ready to try this? Man, I've been trying it. He's already on it. Did you see that? He's already in there. Go ahead and taste it, Jeff. And while you're doing that, I want to say that, we've already been tasting Japanese whiskey. So we've been having a lot of Japanese whiskey this month, right? This is our third Japanese whiskey this month. There's plenty of those Japanese whiskeys that I feel like could fool you. You're thinking you're maybe drinking a bourbon. It's funny because I will say that most of the Japanese whiskey we've had so far is somewhere with kind of this mid-range between Scotch and bourbon. This is not that. This one seems to just jump headfirst into the Scotch realm. Very complex, extremely, as far as on the nose, extremely complex. Yep, and you get a lot of floral. I mean, talk sacrilege if you want, but we're talking Glenfiddich, Glenlivet. We're talking about the typical Scotches that on the nose, that thing where you know what you're getting ready to drink. So now what is the retail price on this? What's this usually run? So it's supposed to only be about 65 bucks, but right now, actually the bummer is that it's closer to 75, 80. Yeah. And that's because, we're getting it this way. But
I do find that a lot of Japanese whiskeys, when you go look at them in the liquor store, they tend to be quite a bit more than your standard bourbon.
Yeah.
And they do tend to linger around more of your higher quality scotches.
Absolutely. I feel like this whiskey is closer to the core of who trained them to make whiskey than pretty much anything we've had at this point.
I think you're right. It's closer to Scotch than most Japanese whiskeys. Let's try this.
Okay.
So what are you getting?
I catch floral. I catch the aged oak, the burned char.
Yep.
The peatiness is not like super heavy.
No, not at all.
But there's that oily flavor you get from peat, that is like that deep richness.
I will say that I get a lot of the tannin out of it that coming from that Mizunara barrel. I think since I've had enough Japanese whiskeys here recently, I feel like I can almost identify a Mizunara barrel. It's so much different than your char barrel from oak from a bourbon, and it's a little pulled away from the standard Scotch barrel, which would have been a bourbon barrel up until recently when they start using more Mizunara barrels for some of their scotches.
Now, I mean, Kaiyo, I know that they actually do flame their barrels. They'll take a new one. They'll actually char it themselves and use a new barrel. It's
a new barrel though.
Yeah, and so with that complication and everything else, look at the color of this whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say that's pretty close to what Hibiki was like, which makes sense because that's a Mizunara oak as well. Yeah. I will say this is an unchilled filtered. I know that's been a real trendy thing lately for
chilled.
Unchilled.
Unchilled.
Unchilled seems to be a really
okay.
I mean, how about you? Do you feel like there's a big difference between chilled and unchilled? Do you really get?
I think we have to explore that later for sure because
I mean isn't like Jack Daniels a chill filtered, or I know it's charcoal filtered.
It's charcoal filtered. I can't speak to it. We would have to look it up and find out.
I think as far as closer to the Scotch realm of whiskey, this is the first one I've had that's like it's a Scotch.
Because I can taste this much is like that I can tell that they are trying to tame the flavors that could be considered harsh.
Oh yeah.
And they're bringing it to something that's more palatable, away from say like super strong American bourbon.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
I mean, if you smell that glass, you can really get that vanilla. So that's that standard vanilla that you would get out of a whiskey, but there's some really. I mean, you can stick your nose in there. So,
I mean, as far as a Scotch is concerned and your daily drinking, how would you rate this? I mean, where would you put this in your cabinet?
Well, let's think about that. Okay, so how would I rate this? Honestly, I'm going to give this a 3-finger.
Yeah, I hate to jump so quickly on it because I want to pretend like, I want to reserve my opinions. But I want this continually, actually. I mean, price point is high.
What was it, $70?
It's $75.
But now think about this. When you're comparing scotches, so like a good bourbon, you're getting into the good bourbons around $30-40.
Yeah.
Scotches, we've always said to get to a really good scotch, you're getting into the $60-70 for a good scotch. So I think $70 is a good ballpark range for a good scotch. Now, are you gonna drink this every day?
I mean, if you can afford it, you would try to.
It depends on what your whiskey budget is. You know, everybody's whiskey budget's a little different. So some guys be like $70.
Yeah, no, and I understand. I understand that. And when I look at what I have, that's my whiskey collection.
Yeah.
This falls actually in the middle.
So where would you put it?
I'm gonna say this is a solid 3-finger. It's something I want in my cabinet. Yeah. I'm not going to drink it every day because I don't want to have to repurchase it.
Because of $70.
But I will tell you that if I could drink it on a regular basis, I would not want it to leave my collection. Yeah,
I think so far, I think all the Japanese whiskeys we've had so far at this point this month.
Yes.
All the Japanese whiskeys have been really, really good. I think this is no different. It's really interesting. You know, there's a lot of great scotches out there, but I think there's something about a Japanese whiskey that they spend a little bit more time in. It's like they're agitating it in the ocean. They're using Mizunara cask, you know, barrels, all these little special things. I mean, sometimes, like if you look at the Hibiki bottle, it looks perfect to be a decanter.
Yes.
They put so much attention and detail in the whiskey, in the flavor, in the production of it, and in the final marketing of this product. You know, there's nothing real special about the bottle for this one. It's pretty clean. It's a black label. It's just a standard cork. But, I mean, where the money is spent, you can tell it's in the whiskey.
Yeah, I don't feel like I was ripped off on the value.
Not at all.
But I can understand, you know, being like hesitant because you just don't want to spend that money. But at this point, I'm impressed. Japanese whiskey is impressing me.
So I think we're going to do one more Japanese whiskey this month. So let's see if our last one this month turns out as good as the other three, but I think it will. So what about you? Have you found that Japanese whiskey tends to be something that you enjoy? Have you tried a lot of Japanese whiskey? So let us know right down below. Let's chat about it. I'd be interested in seeing if you think Japanese whiskey is up there with most of your favorite scotches, or if you think Japanese whiskey beats out some bourbons, right? So in the meantime, hey, we're just glad you're here. Please be sure to like,
subscribe, hit the notification bell. And,
somewhere around here.
You know, hey, more importantly, share your experiences and let us know how you have experienced whiskeys. And hey, if this rings true to you, share it with your friends. You know, let them see our videos. And
as we've always said, whiskey is always better when it's shared with friends. So, you know,
that's the only way to drink whiskey.
I can promise you this Japanese whiskey tastes better because we're here together. So in the meantime, you know what? Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
We'll see you next week.